you put our first half against Indy together with our second half against Pittsburgh, we might have been in the Super Bowl. So, you never know where the chips are going to fall, and you keep working at it. Never thought that after we lost that second one, that we would not be back to the playoffs.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brian Giuffra with the Big Lead. Welcome back to In My Bag. Today we have Nick Mangold, former Jet center and now culinary artiste from a barbecue standpoint. Nick has been nice enough to join us on this show. Thank you so much, Nick.
No, thanks for having me.
Of course. As a Jets legend and an NFL legend, really, I'd love to start off with a question about the Jets. You know, a lot of people think that they're going to have a better season. Some are saying playoffs, some are saying, kind of right on that playoff edge. Do you think, especially now that Tom Brady is gone, do you like their chances to make the playoffs this coming season?
Yeah, I think not having Tom there is a big help, I think, not only for the Jets, but for the rest of the AFC East. But I think it's more about what the Jets are going to do. They spent a lot of time this offseason trying to rebuild the offensive line, adding depth and talent there, and, finding weapons for Sam, which is a big thing. So it's going to be interesting to see Sam in year two with Adam Gase and his system, watching how that progresses and seeing – if they make the steps, seeing if he stays healthy, can they do some good things, and fingers crossed that they can.
Do you wish Tom Brady wasn't in the division when you were playing for the Jets?
Yeah, of course. It was always difficult knowing that New England, as long as Tom was there, was always going to be a hard fought battle. So, for him, it was just, or for me, it was, just unfortunate luck that he was there all my 11 years with the Jets.
Did you like seeing him struggle at something during that golf event? I know you were watching because you had a funny suggestion as well on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. It was funny. Everyone's talking about how much he was struggling, and he would still wipe the floor with me in a golf game. So I would love to be able to struggle like that. That would make me very happy on the golf course.
I know, and especially when he dunks a shot right on Charles Barkley's face when Charles Barkley was talking smack. I wanted to jump into what you're up to now because it's really interesting to me. You started this company, 74 Barbecue, obviously in reference to the number that you played with the Jets. First of all, just tell me a little bit about 74 Barbecue, and actually, how did you get into barbecue sauce?
So it started, my love of barbecue started about 6 years ago when we had an assistant offensive line coach come in and kind of teach me the ropes. And from there, it just kind of exploded and grew. I was tired of buying sauce at the stores where I said, what, I can probably make one better. So worked on it for a long while, taste tested it around, it got good reviews. And so me and my partner decided that it was time to move on it. And this was about a year ago. So we created the company. With lofty goals. We're starting out with 2 sauces. We have the OG and the spicy OG. I'm hoping to get to 4 because it is my passion project. But I want it to have connections to me, in every way possible. So not only does 74 represent the number that I represented the Jets with, but if I can get to 4 sauces, I'll have one for each of my kids. And so that's something that would be special to me. And it's just been a lot of fun, and it's been a huge learning process. It's gotten great reviews and great response so far. And it's been, it doesn't seem like work because it's that much fun.
Well, you can't ever answer the question of who's your favorite child, but because the barbecue sauces are in honor of your children, the spicy one for the second, the OG for the original, the sweet, and then the tangy for your 2 daughters, I'd love to know which one of your barbecue sauces is your favorite.
I love them all. I think that's the one thing that, someone was asking me, what style of barbecue sauce is it? Is it a Carolina? Is it Texas, Tennessee? What is it? Kansas City. And it really, I love all the different styles of barbecue. And I think that's something that makes, barbecue special. And it's really kind of a blend. It's something unique, something that I've never tasted before. That is, it's still a barbecue sauce, but it has its own unique flavor to it.
That's such a dad answer, though. You gave the answer just like a dad would. I love that. I'd love to know, are you considering opening a restaurant? Because I also noticed on the site that you have some recipes that actually sounded pretty tasty. I always love a good beer can chicken, of course.
Yeah, I think a restaurant would be a lot of fun. I know they're a lot of work, and my kids are young right now, and so I need to spend time at home with them. But down the road, you never know. It's fun. Creating recipes is difficult, because I never went to school to figure out how to write recipes or anything like that. So trying to write down what I'm doing and measuring. I don't measure all that much. So when it comes time, like, well, how much onion powder did you use in this? And like, I don't know. It's a little here, a little there. And so that's something that I've had to really focus on, because I do most of the cooking in our house. And so I think there's something, innately creative about cooking. And so I've had to start focusing a little bit more. And when I create a dish, try to measure something out, or at least eyeball it enough that you can put a close measurement to it.
I'm coming over to Nick Mangold's house. You're really trying to impress me for whatever reason. I don't know. I'd love to know, what's your go-to meal that you're cooking?
It really depends. Depends on what the people want, and the people being my family. We do everything at our household. We try to get a bunch of different cuisines in, and so we have Italian night where we maybe some sort of pasta dish. We'll do fried rice night. We do noodle bowls. We do anything on the grill. My favorite barbecue is pulled pork. I think that's something that I've gotten really good at, and so it's really a plethora of meals.
Pork butt or pork shoulder?
Pork butt.
Pork butt. Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I went to school in North Carolina, so I want to see where your head's at.
I got
you. So I want to go back to the football field. You guys, during your time there, lost in 2 straight AFC championships to a team that lost in the Super Bowl. Do you think about those games often?
Yeah, I mean, those are always the regrets that you think about, and being that close 2 times in a row is always difficult. And you look at it, and if you put our first half against Indy together with our second half against Pittsburgh, we might have been in the Super Bowl. So you never know where the chips are going to fall, and you keep working at it. Never thought that after we lost that second one, that we would not be back to the playoffs. So it's crazy to think about. But yeah, it was obviously disappointing not being able to finish the deal.
Do you think you would have beaten either the Saints or the Packers? Because as you mentioned, the Colts and the Steelers were the teams that you lost to, and they wound up losing to the Saints and the Packers. Did you watch those Super Bowls? Do you think you could have beaten those teams?
I watched the Pittsburgh. I didn't watch the Indy Super Bowl because I couldn't do it. But then I watched the Pittsburgh one because my son was born on that day. So we watched the Super Bowl together. So I got to tell you, with that being my first child born, I wasn't really watching other than the fact that it was on. So I can't say for certain.
Well, that's an understandable thing. I mean, I don't even know, when my son was born a couple of months ago, I wouldn't have been able to focus on anything. It was just keep this thing alive for the night.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy.
Let me ask you, you've played with a lot of big names in your careers, from Brett Favre, LaDainian Tomlinson, Mark Sanchez, a lot of guys like that. Who was your favorite star teammate? Even going back to your college days, you had a lot of great players on those college teams at Ohio State. Who is your favorite star teammate, and what made them, because obviously when they're stars, it's a little bit different, but what made them your favorite teammate?
That's difficult. I think I have a bunch of different favorite teammates, that maybe not have been stars. I think the one I was most starstruck by was definitely Brett Favre, because I watched him growing up. And so then to have him show up, be like, all right, you're snapping to Brett Favre, was kind of mind blowing. So, and then anytime you go to a Pro Bowl, and you see guys there who you've been watching and know are fantastic players, and then to get to be on the same field with him is something that's pretty special.
Any one teammate that stands out to you just as a favorite teammate?
Oh yeah, I mean that's obviously Derrick Shaw Ferguson. We came in together as first round picks, We played 10 years together, grew up together in the NFL. So, we have a special bond there.
And still friends with him today?
Oh, of course. That's someone who won't be able to get rid of me.
Speaking of offensive linemen and quarterbacks and running backs, they typically get you like pretty cool gifts, especially when they achieve things like get a Pro Bowl, 1,000 yards, 3,000 yards passing, whatever it is. What's the best gift that you ever were given by a teammate?
I got a gift card to Per Se in the city, and I would have never been able to go without it, because it gave me an in. Reservations there are very difficult to come by, but because I got that gift card, I was able to get in there, and that was a fantastic meal.
Who got you that gift?
I can't name names.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. Per Se, I think, is a dream for anybody who lives in New York, and I'm happy that you got to experience it. I'll just have to wait for my turn. Did anybody ever stiff you? Were you ever stiffed a gift where you were like, I probably should have gotten something for that?
Yes, it was twice. Got stiffed twice over the years by quarterbacks.
Can you elaborate for us?
No. There's some things that stay in the brotherhood of an offensive lineman.
I respect that. Did your other offensive linemen, was it kind of like a group thing, like, hey, what happened here? We should have gotten something?
Oh yeah. It was very shocking.
Well, viewers at home, you're going to have to use your imagination on that one. I'm not going to press Nick any further. I know that the end of your career with the Jets, it was a little bit tough when they cut you and then you retired a year later. Looking back on that, how do you feel about how the end of your career unfolded?
It definitely wasn't the way I wanted to finish up. To finish injured, wasn't the way that you would dream it as you go in for a couple of years. But after going through all that, it gave me a little bit more perspective on different things, and then to be able to come back home and retire with the Jets, made it that much more special.
You kind of look at it now and your career, I mean, so many accolades, not only the Pro Bowls and the All Pros, but just, people always just talked about you as one of, if not the best center of that generation. Do you think that you should get into the Hall of Fame? And do you think centers deserve more Hall of Fame recognition? Because even great players, everybody agrees they're one of the best of a generation. They don't get in.
Yeah, it's funny. I get the Hall of Fame question every once in a while, and my answer has always been the same. There's nothing I can do about it right now, so I don't worry about it. It's always been kind of a motto in my life. If I can't change it, don't worry about it. So I put the work in. Hopefully it was enough, but we'll see when it comes time for voting.
What about just centers in general? I feel like they don't get enough credit. The left tackle is the sexy offensive line position, and they get a lot of, Hall of Fame consideration, justifiably so. But I mean, the center is, the kind of orchestrator of the whole thing. So I guess I can just ask it another way. Do you think centers deserve more recognition, more Hall of Fame recognition?
Well, I think they obviously deserve one more. That would be my hope. But, I think it's funny. It's always funny to hear because left tackles are always the prize position. Left guards were always a big one too. And then it was like a battle for centers, right guards, and right tackles to see who could be number 3. And, I've always thought that the center is the most important position, not because I played it, but because of how much communication has to go on and the communication not only with the offensive line, but with the quarterback. And so there's a lot of moving parts that, people don't see. And I think that kind of goes a little underappreciated.
I agree completely. We talked a little bit about Mark Sanchez, and I think unfortunately for him, in a sense, you can't look back on his career without mentioning the butt fumble. But rather than talk about the actual play or anything like that, I would love to know, what was it like in the aftermath? Was he like joking about it within the locker room? Did you guys feel comfortable joking with him, or was it just kind of like a let's not talk about it situation?
Yeah, it was it was one of those things where you're like, it was a bad thing. It was something that happens, at least, a mix up on a play happens at least 5 times a game. This one just happened to be a fumble with a return for a touchdown, so it makes it even worse. And so it was one of the things we just didn't talk about.
Yeah, and I get that because, like, I think in film rooms sometimes, especially after a win, you can kind of make fun of those things. But after a loss and the way it happens and the way that the New York media kind of, went crazy and the national media, I understand that completely. Another quarterback that you mentioned, Brett Favre, what was that like? Because I even read an anecdote about, the second practice with you and Brett Favre. You guys, fumbled an exchange and you guys had to run a lap because Mangini told you to run a lap as a punishment. I'd love to just know, what was that like for you, that 1 year with Brett Favre?
Yeah, it was like having a rock star come in. The lap incident was, it was supposed to be a punishment, but as we're running, Favre took the opportunity to take a little bit of time and do a victory lap because everyone was cheering for him. And so it was interesting. It was also funny. We got back into the locker room after that, and one of the equipment guys said, "Oh, you won't believe how many views it's getting on YouTube already." We had just walked back in for practice, and at that time, it was 2008. It was kind of like what's YouTube, and so we got a good chuckle out of that.
That's great. Were you surprised that he had so much success with the Vikings the year after? And also, why don't you think it worked? I know he was dealing with injuries the 1 year with the Jets, but why don't you think it worked in New York? And were you surprised that it did work so well for him that year in Minnesota?
Well, I think that was the big thing. You look at where we were. I think we were 8-2, and then he started battling some injuries. And we weren't able to cover up enough for him to finish it out strong, and finished at 9-7, I think. And so, I think had he stayed healthy, we probably would have been in the same position as Minnesota because we were rolling. We had a fantastic run game going. He was slinging the ball, and so it was disappointing. Having been at the top and doing really well, we knocked off New England, and then I think we knocked off Tennessee, who was undefeated at the time. And so we had a good run going, and unfortunately just kind of fell apart.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about like the rock star and kind of the craziness. What was it like for you dealing with the New York media? Was there anybody you didn't like dealing with more? We're such an aggressive bunch. I'd just love to know your experience with the New York media.
It was interesting. I had a good practice at Ohio State, and we had a fair amount of local media there, but it was tenfold when we got up to New York. And I think the big thing was just kind of understanding the purpose of the media, and try to how to get your message out without falling into some of the traps that they lay. And so if you can navigate that pretty well, it's not too bad. But that's one of the joys of being able to play in New York is you do have to deal with that much media, but you also get to get that much more exposure.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job of it so far. I tried to lay a couple of traps here and there, but you're definitely avoiding them very well. Would you ever consider getting into the media? Because, I mean, listen, first of all, you got the look that it's just like a memorable look with the beard and the hair. Would you ever get into media?
Yeah, it's funny. We're doing a Zoom, conference here because I've always been told that I have a face for radio. So it's always interesting. But I don't think I don't know, media. It would be difficult. I think right now for me with my kids being young, I like to spend the time at home. But if I were looking for something, I think it would be more on the coaching side. Being more a part of that side of the game, because that's more of a football side rather than talking about it.
You coach youth football, right?
Yeah, I coached the third grade football team this year. We started out slow, but we finished strong in the end. So it's been a lot of fun seeing kids, where they're just playing just because they want to be out there with their buddies who love the game of football. It's pretty neat to see after being in the business of football for so long.
So you got the dad talk down, you got the coach talk down. We started slow, we're getting better. I love it. Has anybody approached you, like any professional teams approached you, or even Ohio State approached you about coaching?
No, I think everyone's kind of understood where I was in my life with the kids. So
Yep.
I think that hopefully that door won't be shut on me. I still love the game. I still watch it, pay attention to it, try to learn as much as possible. But just right now in the spot where I am, the kids still want me around. I figure soon enough they're not going to want me around, and then I'll have to find something to do.
Okay, so we'll be waiting maybe a decade or so for that to happen with bated breath. I'll be excited to see where you wind up coaching. Going back to college, the debate I have with people all the time, because I really loved that 2002 Miami Hurricanes team, was that pass interference in the national championship?
No, of course not. You saw it. I saw it. You watched the replay. You watched it slow down. There was definitely contact beforehand. So and I'm not concerned with that. Plus, even if you're looking, well, that was a blown call. You look at the end of regulation and the blown call there. If we have to call it a makeup, even though it wasn't because it was blatant pass interference, you could do that as well.
Touche. I think that's the perfect answer. I'm happy you brought that up. I do remember that play as well. It was a hell of a game. And hey, you have a national championship ring. Nobody can take that away from you. We're going to jump into just the little segment called Would You Rather. So I'm going to mention two different scenarios. You're just going to say, I'd rather do this or I'd rather do that. Okay, so here we go. So would you rather have Mark Sanchez, I said Sanchez, did you see me going there? Would you rather have Mark Sanchez leading your 2-minute drill or Brett Favre?
Brett Favre.
Very good. Would you rather have your beard or Ryan Fitzpatrick's beard?
Oh, my beard. Obviously, his is too groomed.
He seems to be letting it go, though, during quarantine. Have you seen him recently? It seems a little bit more wild.
Oh, well, he can't get to the barber, so it's just growing and growing and growing. He has fantastic growth.
Oh, so he doesn't cut his own facial hair?
No, he doesn't do that.
Wow. Okay. Well, we learned something here today. I thought, because I can't. I'm follically challenged when it comes to the face, so I don't know. I just assumed that everybody that would, as a man, you would just cut your own facial hair. But I guess some people do get groomed that way. All right. Cool. Would you rather have Sam Darnold or Lamar Jackson as your franchise quarterback moving forward?
Ooh, I'll take Sam because A, I'm a Jets homer, and B, I like the potential longevity that Sam provides. I fear with Lamar's style, if he gets injured, that could really slow him down, and I think he would lose some of his explosiveness, and that would scare me.
As an offensive lineman, who would you rather block for? Would you rather block for Darnold or Jackson?
I'd rather block for Darnold because I know where he's going to be. Like whenever you, especially if you have a running back who likes to cut and make a whole bunch of different plays, along with a quarterback who likes to scramble, likes to get around. You never know where he is, and it causes a lot of problems, blocking because you potentially could be holding because you think you're pushing the guy in the right direction, and all of a sudden the quarterback's in the other direction, and now you're in bad spots. So it's always tricky when a quarterback scrambles, even if they're doing it because they've got pressure, they do it because they want to. Not knowing where someone is, it makes it 10 times harder to block.
And sometimes when they scramble, they get extra sacks, which looks bad on you. So I get that completely. Last one of the would you rather? Would you rather have to face Bobby Flay or Aaron Franklin in a barbecue throwdown contest?
Oh, I'd take down Bobby in a heartbeat.
Have you been invited on Food Network? I feel like you should be.
I have one that I can't talk about, confidentiality reasons. But I haven't been able to secure, a full-time gig, which would be a lot of fun.
Wow. Well, that's another thing. I mean, you're leaving us on the edge of our seats with this, between this and then the who stiffed you on a gift thing. I mean, you're avoiding the landmine.
Hopefully the Food Network one should be known soon enough. So fingers crossed.
Very good. Well, I'm excited to hear that. As I said, I think you do great with a restaurant or whatever you wanted to do. All right, next segment is called New to Wiki. So I have read your Wikipedia page. I have really gone through it pretty well. I'd love to know what's one thing that's not on your Wikipedia page that you think should be on your Wikipedia page so that people know that about you.
I have a hard time answering this because I don't think I've ever actually read my Wikipedia page. So I don't know what's on there. So I'll have to take a rain check on that because I don't know what's on there. So I don't know what's not on there.
You know what's not on there is that you're maybe going to be on the Food Network. So that can be your not my new to Wiki thing. So we got something. We got some.
Perfect.
I'm going to add that in there. All right. Last segment is Know Thyself. It's very simple, quick questions about your career. We're going to focus in the NFL, and we're going to kick it off with, do you know what your 40 time was at the NFL Combine?
5:01.
5:0. I saw 5:05 on the NFL site. So you're saying that the NFL site might be a little off?
I think it's a little off. I think it was 5:01.
I got to double check you know what? I feel like I got to double check my sources because I went to the NFL's website to do this. But I will double check on that one.
I'm pretty sure it's 5:01 because I remember driving home from Indy, all honked off that I didn't break 5 flat, which was my goal. I wanted a 4. So hoping for something in the 4s, and I was, that close.
The what ifs, right? The what if moments.
The what ifs.
Do you know how many total holding penalties you had called against you in your NFL career?
Oh, no. But I'll take the guess at 9.
11.
Undersold.
Just over 1 a year, which is crazy. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. How many playoff games did you appear
in? 6, 7.
That is correct. How many quarterbacks started a game for the Jets during your 10 years as their starting center?
Oof. This one I'm going to have to guess at too and say 13.
Only 9.
Oh.
Because they started. They had to start a game.
Okay.
Yeah. They could have come in on relief with injuries and things like that, but only started a game.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that.
Well, Nick, first of all, thanks again so much for joining us. Everybody, make sure that you go and check out his barbecue, 74 barbecue. It is really cool. I'm looking forward to trying some. As I said, I love the barbecue, and look forward to this potential Food Network news drop. That Nick, are you going to make that? Just so I know, on your Twitter, should people be looking on your Twitter for the news drop, or Food Network's Twitter?
Yeah, as soon as I can make it, I'll be pumping it out there because I'm pretty excited about it.
Wonderful. Well, we're excited too. Again, that's Nick Mangold, Brian Giuffra in my bag. Thank you all for tuning in.